guys, it's Kylie, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make ears just like the ones on my head. So to make these ears, you're going to need a few different things. I have some templates to cut out the different shape of the ear. I do have a headband. I got these off of Amazon, and I will have them linked in as much of the stuff as I can linked in the description down below. I have this awesome trim. You can use any color trim depending on what matches. I have some different color fabrics. We're going to be making some Red Sox ears and a fabric for the bow. I also have some cardboard, as this is what I use as the support for the ears. And then finally, I have lots of hot glue, as we are gluing these ears all together. If you guys enjoyed Disney videos and Disney content, definitely hit the subscribe button, turn the bell so you get notified every time I upload. I did recently post a video with all the ears that I have in my collection, so definitely check that out so you can see all the different ears that I have made. If you're ever interested in any of the ears you see in my videos or these ones that I'm making today, definitely check out my ear shop. It is linked in the description down below. So to start off in making these ears, we have to start with the cardboard center. So what I'm going to do is trace 4 of this. This is the ear sewing line for the template. I'm going to trace 4 of these on this cardboard and cut them out as the center piece for my ears. So you just go around and trace it. This one you want to trace right on the edge, just because this is like the size of the ear that you want, and you want to make sure that they're all perfectly even as best you can. So I'm just going to trace it like this, and I'm going to trace 4 of these, and I'm also going to cut them out, so I'm just going to show you cutting them out. So you literally just take them and cut them as close to the line as you can. You want to make sure that you get it, every one that you're going to be cutting out, to be nice and even. And you can obviously trim some of them up when you're done so that they're ready to go for your ears. So now that I have my 4 pieces of cardboard cut, I had to draw on that one a little bit. I am now going to cut out the fabric. I just like to pre-cut everything so that it's ready to go. So for the fabric, I'm going to be using this Boston Red Sox fabric that has Mickey on it. So what I'm going to do is open up the fabric and lay it out so that you see the back of the fabric. So you have it like this. So you can see the back of the design. That way when what I'm drawing on, you don't actually see. So then I'm going to take this and my marker and draw out where I want the different cuts to be. So what my plan to do is to do each one of the 4 logos. So they have this logo, Mickey throwing, Mickey batting, and then this other Red Sox shoe logo. So I'm just going to space them out and try to get one of each one. And for these ones, I do try to draw a little bit on the outside of this, just so that I have a little extra fabric to work with. So I just place it down as much in the center as I can. Want to make sure that they're centered. And then I am going to, on the outside, a little bit wider than the circle, draw around this template. This is the ear cutting template. It's the larger of the templates, just so that the fabric is larger than where you're either sewing or cutting. So that's the first one. So I've drawn my 4 ears, and now I'm going to cut out each one. So now that I have this all cut, I'm just going to put this fabric to the side because I'm going to use it for the headband, but I don't pre-cut my headband fabric. Then the last thing I'm going to pre-cut for now is the bow. So for the bow, I believe this is 8 by 11. Let me pull out this is actually, yeah, 8 by 11. I cut this out of a piece of paper. I just took off the extra ½ inch of a piece of paper. I use this for my bows. It's kind of like my bow template. So what I'm going to do is try to find an area. It doesn't need to be perfect on the side, so I'm actually going to use this area, even though it's a little slightly larger on the edges, just because I don't have to cut off as much. So I'm just going to go straight down and cut down the side. I'm going to end up cutting off the fringe on the other side. The edges for the bow all get folded into the middle, so you don't actually end up seeing any of the edges. And then I'm also going to cut off this side with the extra fringe, just because I don't want to have that dangling out at all. I want it to look a little bit smoother. So this is what I'm going to use for my bow. I'm also going to cut a strip about, I don't know, about an inch wide or so, and depending on how long I have. So I'm going to do it about this long. Doesn't really matter, they switch off. I usually end up cutting them shorter once I actually put them on. So now that I have everything cut, I'm going to put this all to the side. One thing that I didn't mention before that I'm going to need is also my stuffing for the ears. So now I'm going to start gluing these. So you place the fabric with the design down, and then you take a piece of cardboard with the Sharpie side up, and you start gluing. So you start in the corner and you just work your way around the outside, gluing them on. So I just bend it over, and this is why I like to add a little extra of the fabric larger than that cutting line, just so I have plenty of fabric to bend it over and still be able to stuff it without bending the cardboard. You don't want it to be too tight or the cardboard will be bent and the ears won't secure together very well. So I'm just going around and filling in this. So now I'm going to stuff all of them so they all have this little flap. I'm just going to take some of my polyfill stuffing. I've had this for a while now. I actually need to order some more. You can get it at Walmart or at Joann's, and you just stuff them up. You want to make sure you don't stuff them too much so that the fabric, the cardboard doesn't bend, but you do want to still stuff them enough so that they seem full. Some people like flat ears and don't like to stuff them, but I like the arc of the ears. So you're just going to stuff them like this. So I just like to try to do it as even as I can. Sometimes I end up with one a little bit more stuffed than the other, but I try to make them as even as possible so that the two ears match in size. So I'm just going through and going to stuff all 4 ears. So now that all 4 ears are stuffed, I'm going to seal them up. So how I do that is just take the glue gun again and put some glue on the back and then just fold up the flap. So now that I have my 4 ears, I'm going to choose 2 of them to put together. So I think I'm going to have the front be this guy, this Mickey with the bat, and this Boston Bee one, just to mix it up. So then, which means on the back of it, I'm gonna have the other Mickey and the other Boston one. So I think I'm gonna do it like this, just so that each ear has a Mickey character and a Boston character on it. So how I'm gonna do that is I'm just gonna flip over 2 of them and put a bunch of glue on the back. I like to make sure I get it around the border as much as I can to secure the borders together. And I then take the opposite ear and just put it on and put a lot of pressure on it so that it holds together. I'll usually hold this for a little bit so that they secure, or I'll put it under a weight while I do some of the next steps, which is probably what I'm going to do for now. So I'm just going to take this and put it under a weight or like a bin or something, and I'm going to glue the other one. So now we're going to do the bow. So for the bow, I take in the 2 sides. So literally just put a small thing of glue along the edge and fold in that side just so that there's a nice even side to it. And I do that on both just to get away from the cut marks that you see. Then I put a line of glue down the middle and fold the bottom up about halfway into the middle of the bow. And then I do the same thing on the top, put a row of glue and fold the side down so that the bow ends up about in thirds really, because the 2 sides fold over. I then take a little dollop of glue on the sides and secure those down just so that they're not flapping around. And then the next step is to figure out whatever the halfway point is. So you take the 2 ends and fold them to the middle and make sure they're even. Then I glue those down to the middle. You want to make sure they're as close as you can, because depending on how fat that is, you don't want to be able to see the gap in between them. So then we take our small strip of fabric, and all we're going to do is fold in the two sides. So we're going to put a strip of glue down the middle of it and fold in the side. And then another strip of glue to fold in the other side. So now you have your strip and your bow ready to go. So what I'm going to do for the bow is accordion style it. So you fold the back side up, then you fold it back down and back and forth. So that I like to end with the two sides going to the back so that it looks like this. So then I put some glue in the middle, in the overlaps. Just a little dollop of glue, and put a decent amount on the back. And then I put a nice ball of glue on the back for our strap or center of our bow to wrap around. So you just put that on and wrap it around the center. It usually wraps about 2 to 3 times around our center point. I like to start with the thinner part and then work our way to the fatter part of our strip if it's not even. So that seems about good. I'm going to do 2 wraps around. And then I put a dollop of glue on the back to seal it. So I do have a little bit of extra, but not enough extra to wrap it all the way around another time. So what I'm going to do is just trim that off. So I'll just take my scissors and trim it off. And now we're going to work on our headband. So we have our bow ready. Our ears are almost ready. They just need trim. And now we're going to do our headband. So what I do is I usually like to start with an end if I have an end available for my headband. So what I'm going to do is lay the headband down. I gotta make sure the fabric stays up on the counter. So we start with the headband. I usually leave about 1 inch or 2 at the end of the fabric so that there is like a little flap to fold over the ribbon. So I'm gonna put a little glue on my headband, and then I fold up the edge over onto the headband. I found this is the easiest way. I've tried some other ways and it just doesn't come out as good. So I'm going to go all the way along the headband, and then I'm going to cut it and then repeat the step with the cut fabric so that it's nice and secure. So now that I have it over the one side of the headband, I pull it tight over the headband so that it makes a nice seal. It almost looks like you wouldn't even know there was a headband underneath it. And now I'm going to trim the other side. I like to take my fingers and stick them under the headband and go about a finger's length, like a tip of the fingers out on the side, just so that's about enough to go allow it to wrap around. And I leave about 1 inch or 2 at the bottom to cover up the ribbon. So I cut off my 1 inch or 2, and then I go straight over with about a finger's width after my headband to trim off the fabric. So I'm just going around, and we're gonna make it all the way to the end, and then we just go straight off the end. So this is what your headband ends up looking like. It's not perfect, but then I end up trimming it up and covering it in ribbon anyways. So now I just take the other side and put a strip of glue down that side and fold over the rest of the fabric. So I make sure it's pulled tight, and then I wrap it around nice and tight to cover up our headband. So now that our headband is covered, I'm now going to take some little scissors and trim off the extra fabric. So we go like just along the edges and trim off some of the extra, just so before I cover it with ribbon, there's not a ton of extra fabric loose. I still want to leave the flaps at the end so that I can cover up the edge of the ribbon. It's usually only the very ends that need it, just because that part of the headband is thinner. So now we're going to cover the inside of the headband with ribbon. So all I do is start on one end and place a line of glue down the center. And then I take my ribbon and place it on the center, and I'll trim off the end a little bit. This is 5/8 inch ribbon. I've used both that and a half inch ribbon. I think both of them look good. I just liked the red of this one for the inside of this because I thought it would match the bow pretty well. So now that we have our ribbon, we're just going to seal up the ends. So what I do is just feel the end and trim down the ribbon a little bit so that it's not hanging off the edge of the headband. And then I'm going to fold up the fabric. So how I do this is put a little dollop of glue on the inside, and then I fold up the one side of the fabric, and then I put a little dollop of glue again, and I fold up the other side of the fabric, making a nice little end to our fabric and our headband so that it has a nice little end to it like this, and that just makes it a little bit comfier on the ears. And then I'm just going to trim off the excess fabric that doesn't go on our little end. And then I usually do put in one more dollop of glue just to seal it up so that it's all set and done. And now I'm going to do that for the other side. So now that we have the ends on our headband is all set, and I'm going to put that to a side. So we have our bow and our headband all set. So now I'm going to add trim to the ears. So how I do that is I just take the side of the ears and we put some glue in that, and then we wrap the trim all the way around. So I'm using this white pom-pom trim. I really do like the look of the pom-pom trim, and I'm going to use that all the way around, and you just fill it in and push it into the little hole. It just covers the gap that is created with these ears. So now it's time to put the whole set of ears together. So we have our headband. I'm just going to figure out which side I want on the front. I think I'm going to do this as the front. We have our two ears. And then we have our bow. So what I do is I line the headband up with the edge of my table, and I position the ears as even as they can be. And then I fill them in with some glue so that they are secure to the headband. And then I push with a lot of pressure them together so that they stay as secure as possible. So I'm putting a lot of pressure together. And then I will let these sit for a little bit before I pick them up. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. You just don't want to pick them up too early because the ears are kind of heavy onto the headband until they're secure. So you don't want them falling off the second you lift up the ears. So I'm going to do this with the other side too, leaving room in the middle, of course, for our bow. And then our bow goes in the middle. So I put a dollop of glue right in the middle. And then I usually like to take this bottom side of the bow and put that on top of the dollop of glue and just squeeze that on. And once that is secure on, I do take a glue and I glue the bow itself to each side of the ears. Just kind of gives the bow the shape that you want it to have too. It helps you to control the shape. So I'm gonna glue it like that onto both sides of the ears. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching me make these ears. I think they came out really cool. I like the color combination with the white and the blue. Of course, it accents the Boston Red Sox colors. I really like the way they came out. They're very comfortable to wear. I do think the headbands that I get from Amazon are really nice, and they are more comfortable than some of the other headbands you can get. But if you guys are ever interested in purchasing any ears from me, definitely check out my ear shop, link to the description down below. If you like this video, definitely hit the like button. Helps the channel. Don't forget to check out some of the ear videos that I'm going to have linked in the end card too if you're interested in seeing more ear videos like this one, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!